Good evening and welcome to Daily News Simplified. On today's edition, dated 29th of May 2024, we are going to discuss the following articles with respect to your UPSC Civil Services examination. From the point of view of mains, we have taken two articles. First is associated with the phenomena of landslide, and the second one is with respect to the appointment of Chief Secretary and overall administrative reforms that have been carried out since 2019. From the standpoint of your prelims examination, as you know, the prelims is nearing. We have taken 5 articles with respect to your prelims examination. The first one being with respect to Santhal tribe, second one with respect to the voting rights, third one inspired by a photograph that was published in the Hindu newspaper of today, the fourth one being with respect to stem cells, and lastly, the last article is with respect to an aircraft that we are going to purchase from France, that is Rafale Marine aircraft. So before we begin our session, one second. Let me just quickly remind you that we have uploaded the DNS MCQ compilation. You can go on to www.elearn.rausias.com and start attempting the compilation of MCQs that have been there in the DNS, right? So let us start with the first topic for today. The news is inspired by the landslide which have created havoc in northeastern India, and because of the recent landslide in Mizoram, there have been recorded 27 deaths so far, right? What is the syllabus mapping with respect to this news? The syllabus mapping is with respect to your GS paper 1, including the topics of Indian geography. And from the standpoint, see, what is the difference when we read it in from standpoint of GS paper 1 and GS paper 3? Basically, when we read it from the standpoint of GS paper 1, it becomes a geographical phenomena. And when we read it from the standpoint of your paper 3, it becomes a disaster phenomena, and we read it as a part of disaster management, right? So any PYQs that have been there with respect to landslides, yes. In the very recent paper, 2021 paper, very recently, there was a direct question on the landslide aspect. Describe the various causes and the effects of landslides. Mention the important components of national landslip risk management strategy, right? So without any delay, let us start by understanding what is the concept of landslide. So what is landslide? Landslide is nothing but a geological phenomena involving movement of rocks. For example, these are the rocks, right? And over the period, these start moving. So movement of rock or debris down the slope, right? For example, this is the mountain and this is a slope. When a rock or soil or kind of debris start moving downwards, and why will this move downward? Because of the force of gravity, right? Down the slope under the influence of gravity. This movement can be sudden or rapid, and more often than not, it is triggered by various human activities. What are the various examples of human activities which can induce the phenomena of landslide? The various activities can be, let us say, it can be deforestation, mining, right? Construction on slippery slopes, right? Enhanced grazing, right? These can be the examples. Most primarily, these disasters in the context of recent times have been because of construction activities that have been carried out in the vulnerable slopes. Now let us understand what are the various factors responsible for the event of landslide. So basically, the first aspect that we are going to cover is with respect to the ground conditions. So the first aspect is weak, collapsible and weathered material. So obviously, you know that the geological profile of India is very different at different places, and when in the course of evolution, Himalayas have passed through various stages, right? So the mountains of, let us say, Jammu and Kashmir might be structurally very different from the mountains of, let us say, Uttarakhand or the eastern Himalayas. So sometimes the soil and the mountains are weaker in structures, right? So the reason being weak and collapsible with a weathered material of the rocks, right, or the hills. Second is fractured or fissured rocks having joints or faults. See, for example, in a particular large rock, there are fractures or fissures, right, or there are fault zones within the rocks. Again, when pressure is applied over that particular part of the rock, it is going to kind of skid over each other, break into parts, and then landslide will occur. The rest of the work gravity will be able to do. Then third aspect is with respect to permeability and porosity of the rocks. If rocks are permeable in nature, they will allow more and more water to seepage to get seeped through it, and consequently resulting into landslide. And last is high gradient. So obviously gradient, if we take this example, for example, this is one gradient in which slope is very soft, and we take one this particular kind of gradient. So obviously the angle over here is longer or larger than the angle over here. Maybe perhaps it is like 25 degree, or exactly here it is 45 degree. So obviously 45 degree angle is going to create a very high gradient, and soil is going to be vulnerable over there. Then second aspect is with respect to the geomorphological processes, tectonic and volcanic upliftment. Obviously, as of now, for our consideration, this is not very much important, especially the volcanic upliftment, because in the mainland of India there is no active volcano as such. However, tectonic movements, again, in India, because of our profile with respect to geographical regions, is very vulnerable. So earthquakes also create a kind of subsequent landslides, right? Second is with respect to erosion, erosion, glacial. By glacial we mean the erosion that is caused by the glaciers. Then removal of vegetation, as we have already discussed, and superincumbent loading due to deposition. Over the period, if the deposition is coming from the upward side, it is going to accumulate, and then because at one point of the time, earth is going to lose its bearing capacity, so subsequently what will happen? It is going to collapse. Then another aspect is that it is a physical process, it is a natural process. So intense rainfall, as it was the case in the recently occurring landslides, is intense rainfall, rapid melting of glaciers, and breaching of upstream lakes can also cause landslides. What was the example of breaching of upstream lakes? The Uttarakhand tragedy. Subsequent landslides in the lower parts, like for example Rambada, that were caused by the breaching of upstream lakes, and subsequently debris moved it at such a high speed that it also caused the landslides. Then lastly, we will understand, but the most important ones are with respect to other man-made disasters. The first one being excavation and mining activities. Obviously, you know that even in our northeastern region, there are various phenomena like rat hole mining and so on, and even there are other phenomena like small minerals mining, and then sand mining, and so on and forth. So excavation and mining activities, more importantly the construction activities that are being carried out throughout India, so as to boost the connectivity of the remotest regions of the country, are also to an extent responsible for the occurrence of landslides. Then there are issues with respect to drawdown of reservoirs. Why are we reading it in the man-made section? Because sometimes there is a phenomena of building of dams, right? That is carried out by the humans. And as soon as there is a drawdown of water from the reservoir, the soil becomes weak, and subsequently there are landslides. And then last is with respect to deforestation. All these connectivity projects are again creating a very smooth and easier access to the remotest regions of the earth, right? You might be remembering that because of the impending summers in Delhi, people in the NCR region are approaching towards hill stations like Manali, Nainital, so on and forth. And then again they forget that what did happen the last year because of the excessive tourism. Again, this is how the economy works. When you start going towards the hills, they are the local people over there, they'll start making more accommodation arrangements, right? They'll start making riverside villas, so on and forth. And that is when the problem occurs, that the earth or the mountains over there are not that much strengthened to carry the weight of 2, 3, 4 story and 5 story buildings. So that is how landslides occur, right? So man-made activity is again one of the primary causes of landslides. Moving on, let us assess the landslide risk map of India, because without it, the discussion would be incomplete. Three most important regions, the first one being the Himalayas of the north, second one being the Himalayas of the northeast, and the third one being Deccan Plateau, are the most important ones. However, let us see, as per the Geological Survey of India, around 12% of the land of India is prone to landslide. In the Western Ghat region and Konkan Hills, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Goa, and Maharashtra, especially in the onset of monsoon season, this particular area becomes vulnerable in the monsoon season. You will see various news associated with the landslide in the Deccan region as the time progresses, as soon as the monsoon arrives. Next is with respect to Eastern Ghats. You see this little valley, Araku Valley it is called as. Again, Araku Valley mein there are various instances of landslides. Next is with respect to the northeastern Himalaya, Darjeeling and Sikkim, and now again Mizoram is also there. Next is northwestern Himalayas. Mostly the Himalayas of Uttarakhand are very weak as compared to the Himachal Pradesh Himalayas and JNK Himalayas. So more and more landslide activities are seen in the Uttarakhand and Himachal region, right? So now what is the way forward? Again, the direct question was asked on National Disaster Management Authority's National Landslide Risk Management Strategy, right, in 2021. So what was this strategy all about? The first point was with respect to generating the user-friendly landslide hazard map. So obviously the first step in the solution, creating a solution of any problem, is with respect to the cognition of the problem and spreading information to the masses about the problem. So as you generate very user-friendly landslide hazard maps at the local level, at the administration level, and at the local level, specifically in these regions, as soon as people have the cognition that yes, we are living in a landslide prone area, and the local administration will be having a cognition that yes, we are again living in a landslide prone area, what will happen? Obviously people will be encouraged not to build so many high story buildings first, and then administration will have to keep a tab on that they don't give permit and licenses for high rise buildings in the vulnerable regions. Then because the problem with the landslides are that these are very localized disasters, right? What is the meaning of localized disaster? Localized disaster means that they affect very specific kind of let us say city or community at one point of time, right? So because of the specificity and localized nature of this disaster, there is a absence of pan India strategy on this matter. So and because of there is lack of data, there we have not been able to develop artificial intelligence based models to assess the disaster better. So what is the need? The need is to develop a landslide monitoring and early warning system. In this context, there have been few experiments in this context, but as of now there has not been any deployment of any successful model with respect to landslide management. Then again, the best strategy here can only be with respect to generating awareness programs involving local communities, involving panchayati raj and urban local bodies in the decision making. People need to be aware. The problem here happening over here is with respect to, because of high intensity of tourists coming to particular areas in very limited amount of time, again they are pushed towards making huge money in a very brief amount of time. So for that they take loan and build high rise buildings. because of which the problem occurs at many point of times. Then next is with respect to capacity building and training of various stakeholders. What can be the various stakeholders in this context? The stakeholders can be locals, ULBs, revenue department of the state, obviously policing and home guard department and SDRF are the stakeholders, right? Then we need to strengthen structural measures. What are the structural measures? That we need to revise the building codes so as to accommodate these particular regions, and strict adherence to the building codes need to be developed while creating some kind of infrastructure in the commercial infrastructure in these regions. Then there is a need to prepare mountain zone regulation and policies. And lastly, the recommendation that was specific from this particular panel was creation of a special purpose vehicle for landslide management. As of now, there has been no initiative in this context. We hope to see certain kind of initiatives with respect to creation of a special purpose vehicle in the context of landslide management in the near future, right? Moving ahead with the second news of the day. This news appeared on page number 3 of the Hindu newspaper. What was the news? The Chief Secretary's tenure has been Chief Secretary of Delhi, mind you. This news was specifically with respect to Delhi. The Chief Secretary's tenure has been extended by 3 months. What is the context? Obviously we have just discussed that the tenure of Chief Secretary of Delhi has been extended by 3 months. What is the syllabus mapping with respect to this news? In your GS paper 2, governance, first of all, overall governance and good governance has been explained first in your GS paper 2 and then in your GS paper 4 as well, right? And then in with a specific context, role of civil services in democracy is mentioned. In the past 2020, there has been a question on institutional quality is a crucial driver for economic development, economic performance. In this context, suggest reforms in civil services for strengthening our democracy, right? So basically what is it trying to say? That institution of civil services, the quality of this particular institution will become a crucial driver for economic development. So as and when civil services progressed immediately after independence, the civil services was provided with various roles, right? For example, social development was one of the primary criterias, right? Under the influence of socialistic policies, first of some of the primary aspects and responsibilities of the civil services were eradication of poverty, development of social infrastructure, so on and forth. Over the period, it was realized that we are not going to be a very big kind of mammoth state in which everything is done by civil services and civil servants. So a kind of in the later on in the 1990s reform, the governance was understood in a form of governance as a regulator and steerer rather than a governor, right? So the role of civil services changed over the period, and in this context the question was asked, the institutional quality of civil services is directly responsible for economic performance of the country, right? So this was the assessment. And in the past, in your prelims as well, there has been once a question directly that was asked with respect to the role of civil chief secretary of any particular state, right? So let us first discuss what is it about the office of chief secretary of a state, and then later on we will graduate towards understanding the reforms that have been carried out in the past 5 years or so, right? So if I make a diagram about the hierarchy of civil services, right, from the secretary onwards, right? Obviously, when you people become IAS officers, right? So in the beginning, you are deployed as subdivisional magistrates, so on and so forth, CDOs, DMs, right? So on and forth. right? When you go to when the civil servant go to the level of secretary, they are assigned as under secretary rank, right? So after under secretary, these are promoted to joint secretaries. Then after joint secretaries, there is additional secretaries, right? And after additional secretaries, there are various secretaries to the government of India or secretaries to the various states, and they are just called as secretaries. Secretaries to various departments. Let us say there can be a department of urban welfare, or let us say department of rural drinking water, right? So one secretary will have below him various additional joint and under secretaries. They will be serving, right? Above secretaries there are institution of principal secretary, and on the top of it sits the one single man who is the main, the number one civil servant, or the highest in seniority wise, the highest civil servant of the state, that is called as chief secretary. So it is not just the name that he is called as chief secretary. He is called as chief secretary because he is the chief of all the secretaries, right? All the secretaries or all the principal secretaries of various department go and report about the various developments to the chief secretary of the state. Then what is the feature with respect next feature with respect to the office of chief secretary? He is the chief advisor of chief minister of the state, right? So one thing to remember over here that we will understand later on also, that the appointment of chief secretary is not based on seniority. It is not going to be like a person Mr. X. He is the senior most civil servant cadre wise, right, of that particular state. He is going to be promoted in due course to the chief secretary. No, it is an executive appointment. So subsequently, what is the meaning of executive appointment? That it is a basically political appointment. Whoever the person is who is having a better chemistry with the chief minister or the ruling dispensation gets to be the, or the confidant of the chief minister gets to become the chief secretary of the state, based on the, obviously it is going to be based on the merit and seniority as well, but the chief minister is free to appoint whosoever in his discretion is the most suitable candidate for the chief secretary, right? Now, so now the second feature is with respect to chief advisor of chief minister. Then third feature is with respect to he is the head of civil services communication channel between the center and the state. So he again acts as a information bearer. So obviously, if there is a certain condition that has particularly occurred in one of the state with respect to law and order problem, so who is the prime minister or the PMO, prime minister office, is going to communicate within the state, right? So obviously, because they come and they derive their power from the all India services conduct rules, right? So chief secretary or principal secretary to PMO is going to directly question it from the chief secretary, that yes, what is happening in your states, right? So he is the chief communication channel between the center and the state, right? Then third is with respect, next aspect is that it is an institution that is very unique to states. You do not see any particular equivalent of chief secretary in the central government, although there is an office of cabinet secretary, that is the apex senior most officer in the central government. But again, the powers of chief secretary at the state level are much more wider compared to cabinet secretary, because cabinet secretary is only the highest officer of the civil services at the central level. However, at the chief secretary, he has the power. When it compared to this, the powers are much more fractured. However, when it comes to the chief secretary of state, he sometimes wields the power of home secretary as well, finance secretary as well. He can keep the portfolio of both home and finance with that particular chief secretary of the state. However, this kind of liberty is not available at the center with the cabinet secretary, because you have different secretaries like defense secretary, home secretary, and finance secretary. Although overall they report to the cabinet secretary, but again, the power is more concentrated at the state level, mind you, in the hands of chief secretary of the state. Then again, the next feature with respect to this office is that incumbent or the present chief secretary is not necessarily the senior most civil servant, as we have just discussed. It is dependent on the individual chemistry between the chief minister and the various secretaries to whom he likes and favors the most, and in his eyes, it appears that he is the most competent person to lead. That person will be appointed by the as the chief secretary by the minister. Then next is with respect to, we have just discussed that appointment is in the executive function, right? So who appoints? Chief minister has the power to appoint. In the past, there was a MCQ in the prelims examination that the chief secretary is appointed by governor, right? So that statement was incorrect because it is an executive function and CM simply can appoint the chief secretary. However, the case is a little bit different when it comes to Delhi, and in the case of Government of NCT versus Union of India case 2023, Supreme Court said that central government has the power to appoint Chief Secretary of Delhi. So in case of other states, let us say like MP, UP, Maharashtra, so on and forth, who has the power? Obviously, CM has the power to appoint the Chief Secretary. But in case of Delhi and Puducherry, this power of appointment Chief Secretary is with the central government. So what is the relevant department? MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs, and MHA appoints the Lieutenant Governor, obviously. So Lieutenant Governor exercises the power of appointment of Chief Secretary of Delhi on the behalf of MHA. And this is what the news exactly reads, that MHA has the power to appoint, power to regulate, and power to extend the tenure of Chief Secretary of Delhi. So in this particular capacity, that is why MHA has Ministry of Home Affairs, that is the central government ministry and not the Chief Minister, right? Has extended the tenure of Chief Secretary of Delhi in the recent past one day, right? So now what are the various functions? We have already discussed various functions. So some of which we have missed are with respect to ensuring interdepartmental cooperation and coordination, right? There are various developmental revenue departments in the state. So ensuring the smooth functioning of the various departments of the state is again the job of Chief Secretary, right? He is at the apex hierarchy at the administrative level in the state. Then the various committees which are formulated by the state government, he heads most of those committees. And then one unique portfolio that the person has is with respect to the advisor of zonal council. Right now, it is your duty to go and read about the zonal council, right? And again, here, what is the role of Chief Secretary? The leadership of the certain zonal council keeps coming on particular states on a rotational level, and whenever that particular state is the head of particular zonal council, the Chief Secretary acts as an advisor to that particular zonal council. He has got the administrative control over the overall secretarial staff, or that is called as Sachivalay. And then lastly, he is also the crisis manager in chief of the particular state, right? Moving on, let us discuss the operational part. What are the various civil services reforms that have been carried out in the past 5 years by the government, right? So this is a list of some of the reforms. The detailed document that we have shared with you contains more such reforms that have been carried out in the past 5 years as per the DOPT, so that have been shared with you, right? Then what are the various reforms for the improving the system's efficiency, right? The first one being universalization of CP grams. What is CP grams? Centralized public grievance redressal mechanism. Earlier, CP grams was available only to a very limited scope and extent. However, this over the period, the government has universalized the CP grams. That means it is now all encompassive when it comes to the central government. It has mapped the last mile grievance redressal mechanism officer, and if a particular grievance is received to CP grams, CP grams acts on a again top down model. You are a user, you don't have to go to, let us say, person X or Y who is the cutting edge bureaucracy, right? That was the problem over here, that whenever a user was having certain problem with respect to, let us say, revenue officer, they used to go to the revenue officer, and revenue officer used to refuse work, right? So what this person, Mr. X, can do, he can directly file a complaint to CP Grams, right? What will happen? CP Gram say directly the order will come to the concerned revenue officer. Over here there are various layers, and then this particular revenue officer will be compelled to do the work or initiate the proceeding, right? So last mile connectivity has been done in the context of central government. Next, there are developments with respect to technological enhancement. Whatever there are files with respect to in which time limit concept applies, that let us say RTI, for example, you have to furnish the information in the first 30 days, for example, right? So if the person has not furnished the information, or the beneficiary has not received the certification, right, in the 30 days time period, again it will be automatically flagged, and the flag will be raised to the senior or reporting officer, right? Then again the next development, see, all these are features. So to what are the intended purpose of these features? The purpose being to break the lethargy of the bureaucracy, so that it becomes lean, mean, and not mean obviously, but lean and efficient, right? Then there is a development of grievance redressal mechanism, with the help of which the various ministries are ranked based on their performance. Yes, whatever ministries receive more grievances, and if their grievance redressal mechanism is found to be a little bit weak or inefficient, then again resources are allocated and grievance redressal mechanism is fixed. Then there is a development of feedback call centers with a provision to appellate authority once if your grievance is not addressed, or you can obviously raise a ticket, raise a flag, and talk to the appellate authority. Then there is a development of one nation, one portal in the context of grievance redressal mechanism, which has integrated state portals with the central portal. Then there is a concept of inclusivity in outreach. How do you ensure inclusivity when it comes to good governance? You provide the information plus grievance redressal mechanism in the scheduled languages as well, right? Next, strengthening and monitoring process, implementing of Sevottam model. Sevottam model, students, we are going to read much in detail in the coming months when you will be preparing for your means examination. For now, just remember that there is a Sevottam model with respect to quality of service delivery, and based on this model, government has formulated strengthened monitoring process for the for ensuring the quality of service delivery. Then there is a flagship mission with respect to mission Karmyogi. The most important aspect is with respect to this mission is continuous training and upgradation of skills of civil servants to match the roles of 21st century. Next aspect is with respect to weeding out of inefficient officers. In the past, even close to 200 officers have been weeded out specifically from the income tax department. And then government is again pushing towards compulsory retirement and pushing for little entry, so that more efficient, more experienced, and more globalized experienced candidates can join the civil services and break the ice. In this particular context, you must have heard a circular that has been issued by the Rajasthan government chief secretary recently, a couple of days back, that again Rajasthan government is again mulling over the idea of compulsorily retiring the inefficient, morally corrupt civil servants which have passed a certain age and are like acting like a deadwood to the institution. And then lastly, the government is carrying out good governance index. Various states are motivated to participate in improve their good governance indicators, so that people are able to avail the fruits of good governance, and the perception towards the government of the people changes. With this, we conclude the mains aspect of the discussion for today. We'll take a brief break and move on towards the prelim section with respect to today's news. Moving on to the prelims specific part of your UPSC preparation, let us begin by the first article for the day, that is with respect to right to vote. Now, this very peculiar news that appeared on page number 12 of the Hindu. What was the context of this news? A particular person that is known by Amritpal Singh, he was in news a couple of months back when he created a fringe kind of group and started demanding secession from India. Overall, the crux of the story is that he was arrested and sent to jail in Assam. So Amritpal Singh, who is currently, he is a basically Khalistani sympathizer. Amritpal Singh, who is currently jailed in Assam, is going to contest elections in Punjab. Now, a natural question might have occurred in your mind that when he is jailed, right? So if a person is jailed, can he contest elections? How is he going to contest elections? How can he indulge in political canvassing when you cannot conduct various rallies, right? Various promotion and so on and forth. How can he contest elections? And is he eligible to vote in the assembly elections? Will he get liberty to come from Assam and vote in his native constituency? So all this was answered in today's the Indian Express newspaper. Let us see the article and gain some knowledge beyond, right? So what is the legal status of right to vote in India, right? So there is a little bit of confusion. Even Supreme Court in various cases have sometimes said that yes, right to vote is a constitutional right, and in some cases it has said that right to vote is a legal and statutory right. So as of now, let us begin our understanding by saying that right to vote and right to be elected are both statutory right. So where does the journey begins? The first, probably the first case, landmark case with respect to electoral dispute that came in India was with respect to the Raj Narayan. Indira Gandhi was versus Raj Narayan. In this case, it was simply said that free and fair elections, the elections need to be first free and then they need to be fair. These two conditions are met, and these two conditions are the part of basic structure of Indian constitution. Now moving on, in the case of People's Union for Civil Liberties versus Union of India, it was said that right to vote is a constitutional right. However, this case was perhaps in 2003, right? Later on, in Kuldeep Nayyar versus Union of India, for which the reference has been given in this particular article, Supreme Court has held that right to vote is pure and simple a statutory right. That is, right to vote derives its powers from the statute, that is RPA. So it is pure and simple a statutory right. This means that first, voting is not a fundamental right. That means you cannot say that that particular person is stopping me or infringing my right to vote. That is a fundamental right, right? So, but again, the information given over here in the present today's newspaper, again, I believe that it seems incomplete, because in Rajbala versus the state of Haryana, that this case was with respect to voting in the urban and Panchayati Raj institutions. Again, in this particular case, the stance of PUCL versus Union of India was reiterated, and the Supreme Court said that right to vote is again a constitutional right at the very least. So let us keep a tab on this thing, and we'll see what UPSC has done with respect to this particular question, because this This has been asked once in your examination as well. Now, let us understand the second debate. What are the conditions of bar against contesting an elections? Because this, we need to understand this so that we get a clarity that even though he is barred from voting, why he is not barred from contesting the elections, right? So the operating or the ruling section with respect to this is section 8 of Representation of Peoples Act 1951. What does the section 8 says? Section 8 gives an exhaustive list of disqualifications. It gives a list that if a person has committed certain offenses which are included in this particular list, the person is debarred. If the person is convicted, right? Let us say if the person is convicted for 2 years, or let us say not 2 years, let us say the person is convicted for 5 years. So these 5 years and again an added bonus of 6 years, he cannot contest elections for 11 years, right? But the precondition over here is that the disqualification will be kicked once a person has been convicted, right? So conviction is necessary. If the person under section 8, the provisions of the crimes, right, which have been recognized by section 8, if the person has been convicted in those offenses, then only the disqualification kicks in. So as of now, he is Amritpal Singh. In this particular instant case, Amritpal Singh is charged with, he has only been charged with the offenses, right? For example, the offenses of creating animosity between various religious groups. Again, the charges could be sedition, right? So as of now, he has only been charged with, but he has not been convicted. So because he has not been convicted, he is as of now not disqualified under section 8 of RPA. Then let us understand, we have understood this, that he as of now, he is, because he is not convicted, that is why he is not disqualified from contesting. That means he can contest the elections, right? This is a different condition, that whether he will be he'll be allowed to canvass, right? For example, in the case of Arvind Kejriwal, because he was also detained, but he was allowed to canvass for the elections, right? But this will be determined by the bail conditions, that are a separate debate altogether. Now let us understand what is the right to vote of a confined person. Now this eligibility of right to vote is regulated by section 62 of again RPA 1951, which says that no person shall vote at any election if he is confined in a prison, right? So the person cannot go and demand that, yes, I am confined in particular prison so and so in Assam. Yes, because there are impending elections in Punjab or Haryana, I'll go to Haryana to cast my vote. So this section 62 explicitly prohibits that person will not be allowed to go and cast their vote, right? But this section was challenged by the one of the litigants in Anukul Chandra Pradhan versus Union of India case. They argued that this violates the fundamental right to equality by denying right to vote to under trials. And then who are the most of the under trials? The petitioner argued that most of the under trials are the ones who are not able to furnish the bail requirements, who are not able to garner the enough money to get a bail from the court, right? However, Supreme Court rejected the petitioner's demand and provided various reasons. Let us see what were the reasons. The reasons were the right to vote was a statutory right because it derives its powers from statute, that is section 62 of RPA, right? And then could be subjected to statutory limitations. Then there are issues with respect to resource crunch. Obviously, high profile criminals are kept at very long distance and they need to be kept at a secure location so that they do not create a kind of law and order problem. So obviously, state is not having that much enough resources, that yes, there are many multiple criminals that are being lodged at different places. So obviously imagine in this ongoing elections, every person who is lodged in certain jail says that yes, I am being lodged at Delhi, I need to go to, let us say, Balia to cast my vote. Yes, I need to go to Himachal Pradesh to cast my vote, I need to go to Rajasthan to cast my vote. So state cannot afford that kind of security to the individuals, right? Then again, the next observation that was made by the court was with respect to person is imprisoned. The court said that person is imprisoned because of their conduct, right? Because of the conduct, they have they have been imprisoned. There has been due process of law. They have been awarded the sentence based on the right to fair trial, and once they have been convicted, they cannot claim that yes, I still enjoy the freedom of speech, freedom of movement, and freedom of expression at an equal footing with the person who is outside the jail. Then the third argument given by, very logical argument given by the court, was that right to vote is reasonable. Right to restrict a prisoner from voting is very reasonable. Why? Because again, conduct of free and fair elections is more important than protecting the individual right. Conduct of free and fair election is a part of basic structure of constitution. And what are the chances that if a convicted person goes to certain particular place and he is again creating kind of law and order problem for the locals, he's kind of intimidating the locals that you vote for particular party and so on and forth. So again, they said that personnel with criminal background need to be kept away from the election scene so that to ensure the integrity of the election. So that was the logic given by the Supreme Court in this particular case. The name of the case is Anukul Chandra Pradhan case, right? Moving on, let us see the PYQ that was there in 2017. So as per the answer key of UPSC, they have considered it a constitutional right. So obviously we also said that there has been a debate in certain cases. It has been said that it is a statutory right, and however in the cases of PUCL versus Union of India, this was the largest bench case amongst the various cases. So in PUCL case, it was said that it is a constitutional right, and again this stance was reiterated in Rajwala versus Haryana for the local body elections, that right to vote is a constitutional right. Okay, so again here, nevertheless, statutory was not an option, obviously, right? So the best option amongst the four is obviously constitutional right. Based on this, let us try to solve a practice question based on our understanding. First, consider the following statements. The right to vote is a constitutional right. Yes, even if we go by the previous year's solutions, the first statement is correct. Let us assume it to be correct. Second, the person confined in prison cannot be denied right to vote. Yes, do you think this is logical that all the prisoners in India as of now, because there is an ongoing Lok Sabha elections, every prisoner in Tihar, every prisoner in Yerwada, yes, he goes and claims that yes, you give me a right to vote because I have got the fundamental or statutory right to vote. You please grant me access to go and vote in my constituency. No. So which of the statements given above are correct? Only one is correct. Moving on to the next question, that is inspired by again a political news, but what we will do, we'll take the context of history over here. This news appeared on page number 11 of the Hindu newspaper of today. The news read that all the eyes are on Santhal region of Jharkhand during the last phase of elections. Right, we have just seen the context. Now let us understand few details with respect to Santhal region of Jharkhand. Right, what are the key facts? The key facts, Santhal region and the Santhal rebellion, obviously, right? So why are we reading this? So Santhal rebellion has been covered extensively in your history NCRTs, right? This photo again we have taken from your history NCRT as well. What are the key facts associated with the Santhal rebellion? So after the Battle of Plassey, the colonial expansionist project was started by the Britishers, and it began with the regions of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha. What is the present location of Santhal tribes? Let us say over here in Jharkhand. Okay. So British started expanding after the Battle of Plassey, that was in 1957, and Battle of Buxar, that is 1954. In 1793, Britishers started with a policy of permanent settlement in Bengal and Bihar. What was the meaning of this policy? That the local zamindars and Britishers struck a deal, and the land rights were given permanently to the zamindars. So there are various revenue policies which were considered by the Britishers. For example, in Bengal and Bihar, it was permanent settlement. However, in regions like Punjab and Central India and Gangetic Plains, it was Mahalwari system. Mahalwari system. So these were all land revenue settlement systems that were initiated by the Britishers in the various parts of India. So again, there was this, why was this exploitative? Because there is a term called as sunset clause in this particular context of revenue settlement, that by the end of this particular day, by the sunset of this particular day, and so on and forth, Britishers need to have this much produce by themselves. Whatever surplus you have calculated, you have gained, you keep it to yourself. So there were three parties. First one Britishers, second one is Zamindar, and third one is native or local kisan, right? So the settlement was struck between Britishers and Zamindars. Zamindar could at one particular date, Zamindar needed to have certain amount of revenue in different forms with them, and whatever was the difference between the collection of zamindar from the natives or kisans, that was his particular profit. So what did it lead? It led to exploitation of local population. Now what were the factors that became responsible for the Santhal rebellion? It led to forced relocation. Obviously, when you implement land policies like this, certain locals who have been living over there, certain tribes who have been living over there from ages, right? They are being relocated, forests are being cleared, and the land is being used for agricultural purposes. So it led to various kind of forced relocations for the natives. Second one was exploitation by moneylenders and tyranny of zamindars. So obviously they were being pushed, the locals, even the tribes were being pushed to generate as much as revenue as possible, and that is what was the reason behind the exploitation. And one key word to remember over here is the term decoys, right? So local moneylenders and zamindars and even the Britishers, the Santhals used to call them as decoys. Then whenever, next problem is that whenever they used to go with their grievance to the British officials, they used to feel neglected, because obviously the deal was struck with the zamindar and they could not interfere in the functioning of zamindars. So this neglect again further compounded the discord between the Santhals and the Britishers. Now what was the course of rebellion? Again, a key word over here that has been asked by the UPSC in the past is Hul, right? This Hul or the Great Rebellion was led by four brothers. The name were Sidhu, Kanhu, Chand, and Bhairav Murmu, right? So next is that under their leadership, around 60,000 Santhals mobilized with traditional weapons, right? So obviously UPSC can distort the statements that they were equipped with specialized weapons. No, they were equipped with traditional weapons like sword, bow, right? You can see the image over here, harpoons, right? So these were the traditional weapons with them. So it originated as a revolt against the exploitation, and it originated as a revolt against the upper caste zamindars, but later became as a part of overall rebellion against the British Empire as well. Now, based on our understanding, there has been there has been a direct question on Santhal uprising. Let us try to solve the Practice question. Consider the following statements with reference to Santhal rebellion. Remember the timeline of this as well, 1856-57. The rebellion started as a protest against the forced imposition of Rayatwari system. Okay, so was it Rayatwari system? Second statement reads, the Zamindar extended support to the tribes to protect them against the exploitative colonial system. So this statement is incorrect. What about the third statement? The Santhal community referred the state agents like moneylenders and merchant as dikus. Yes, this statement is correct, right? We just read about the key term, that is diku, right? However, the statement number 1 is wrong, because in this particular region, the settlement that was done was with respect to, it was called as permanent settlement and not Rayatwari system. So what is the correct answer with respect to this? That is only one. Only 3, statement number 3 is correct. Okay. I hope you like the explanation. Moving on to the third MCQ for the day. This MCQ is inspired by an image that was published on page number 5 of the Hindu newspaper. The name of this monkey is Laos monkey. What was the context? A pair of Laos monkey has been seen at Indira Gandhi Zoological Park at Visakhapatnam. Right. Now, what are the key facts to remember in the context of this particular monkey? Let us see the distribution. Is this particular monkey native to India or Indian subcontinent? No. This particular monkey is native to continent of Africa and also sub-Saharan Africa. What is the distribution of this particular monkey? This monkey is distributed in the regions of Burundi, Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda and Uganda. As per IUCN Red List, it is listed as vulnerable. Okay, so now what are the eating habits? Primarily, this particular monkey is having a vegetarian diet, but however, there are evidences that this particular monkey also eats non-vegetarian food as well. Okay, now again, another important aspect with respect to this particular monkey is their mating habits. Now they are polygynous. What is the meaning of being polygynous? That a single male mates with many females. However, in this particular species, the species is female centric and female led. But again, they are polygynous in nature, which means a single male will mate with many females. What is the gestation period of these particular monkeys? The gestation period is 5 months. Why are we focusing only on these facts? Because these facts have been again a part of UPSC's inquiry. For example, there was a question in past with respect to elephant, and then in that question the UPSC had framed that what is the gestation period of elephant. Similarly, they are interested in knowing IUCN status of particular animal, their location, where are they located, what are their dietary habits, nocturnal habits, right? These kind of questions they have generally asked from the environment and species point of view. Okay, so again the gestation period over here is 5 months. Okay, so very simple basic question. In past there has been a question on various insects. The answer was D. You can solve B. You can solve this particular question. Moving on to the practice question with reference to Laos monkey. Consider the following statements. Yes. First, they are endemic to Southeast Asia. What did we just read? They are not endemic to Asia or even Southeast Asia. They are endemic to Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa region, right? So this particular monkey is a guest over here in India. That is what we understood, right? Moving on to the Second point, the gestation period of Laos monkey is about 5 months. Yes, this is information appears to be correct. They live in large groups with single female mating with multiple males. This is it. Does this go with the understanding that we just learned by being polygamous? No. One single male can fertilize many females. That is how things work over here in this community, and it is not the opposite way. So only statement number one, statement only one statement is correct. And which statement is correct? Statement 2 is correct, 1 is incorrect, third is incorrect, right? So the answer is A. Moving on to the next aspect, next topic. This news was covered on page number 9 of Business Line for today. What was the context of this news? Only 0.09% of the population of India is registered as stem cell donors in India. So this is what is this creating? This is creating a kind of problem with respect to having a repository of stem cells in the country. Now there are, again, as per the basic biological understanding, there are various kind of cells. Obviously there are functional cells which perform various functions, for example RBC, WBC, muscle cell, fat cell, brain cell, so on and forth. But what is unique to stem cells, a single stem cell, either this particular cell can replicate itself and make two stem cells, or single cell can differentiate and become change into various other cells as well. So in this is the context in which stem cell and stem cell therapy becomes important. Let us read the key points. Stem cells are undifferentiated cells with the potential to develop into any kind of specialized cells in the body. So they can develop into stem cells further as well, and they can also develop into various kind of specialized cells as well. For example, muscle cell, right? They can self-renew. They have the capacity to renew themselves, which makes them valuable for therapeutic applications, right? So for example, they're in various diseases, for example like cancer. What does it do? It damages your internal cells, right? So if a person is having a stem cell therapy, what will be the likely outcome? There will be regeneration of that particular cells which are getting damaged by the cancer, right? What is the meaning of stem cell therapy? It utilizes stem cells to promote the repair, regeneration and replacement of damaged cell tissue within the body. So as you know that this stem cell can change itself into various kind of other cells. So what is the basic objective with respect to stem cell therapy? Stem cell therapy allows individual to recover from the damage that has been done by various diseases, for example like cancer. What are the guidelines for use of stem cell therapy in India? So obviously this technology, because it is evolving and developing, there now for we have found many other uses of stem cells in India as well. For example, even people are even going for various kind of therapeutic uses of this stem cell as well, and beauty and improvement of beauty standards as well with the help of stem cells. But as of now, the national guidelines for stem cell research in India, only bone marrow transplant and hematopoietic stem cell transplantation for blood disorders like blood cancer and thalassemia is permitted in India, and no other applications of this stem cell therapy are allowed in India as per the guidelines issued by this national guideline for stem cell research. Based on this, let us try to solve a practice question. In the past, there have been various questions on virus. Let us pardon. Let us try to solve a practice MCQ. Stem cells are undifferentiated cells, yes, with the potential to develop into specialized cell types. Yes, as per our understanding, this statement is correct. Second, stem cell therapy to treat neurological conditions and cosmetic procedures is permissible in India. So again, because this is an emerging technology, emerging development, the people are finding various ways to use it. For example, even this is going to be used even in cosmetic procedures, that is enhancement of beauty standards, right? So as of now, as per the 2017 rules, stem cell therapy cannot be used for cosmetic procedures. So statement number 2 is incorrect. Statement 1 is correct. The answer is 1 only. Moving on to the last MCQ for today. What is the context of this news? This news appeared on Business Line page number 9, and the context is India and France are about to begin their talks with respect to acquisition of 26 Rafale Marine aircraft, right? So we are going to again purchase, we bought one project, 36 Rafales for the Indian Air Force. We liked it. The system is much more advanced than compared to any other air forces in the neighborhood, right? So obviously we are going to extend it, and because there is a need for naval aircraft as well, there were many other contenders in the matrix, right? For example, we were also considering F-18 Hornet from USA. We were also considering MiG-29 from Russia. Again, LCA naval version is on cards, right? But as of now, we have concluded, we are almost about to conclude a deal with respect to purchase of 26 Rafale Marine fighter jets from France. So this aircraft is nothing but the naval version of Rafale aircraft that the Indian Air Force is already using. Now let us understand what are the key details or key points to remember for you. This is a 4.5 generation aircraft. So there is no need to go into the details. What are the various generations? Basically, generations are about how the aircraft fighter aircraft have evolved over the period. For example, if you look at the World War I aircraft, perhaps they were categorized as first generation aircrafts on which a gun was mounted, and air warriors used to fight over there. Then over the period, there were betterment in the weaponry, betterment in avionics, betterment in stealth, so on and forth, betterment in communication, right? So this is how aircrafts started to be divided based on various generations, right? So as of now, we don't have any fifth generation aircraft. Even in the world, there are only couple of aircraft which can be called as truly fifth generation. So this is the next best thing that we have, that is the 4.5 generation. It has got twin engine aircraft. Obviously, why are we preferring twin engine aircraft? Because of better safety standards. Even if one engine fails to perform, the second engine can be used to complete the mission and come back to the base, right? And it has got canard delta wing. Now this is a key term that we need to just understand. So because this is a delta wing aircraft, that means that this has got basically this is called as delta wing, because you can see that this is making a D. So obviously classical delta wing had this delta shaped air wings. What can be the example of this classical delta wing? We have a aircraft called as Mirage 2000. Again, this was taken from Dassault France, and this is again this is an example of classical delta wing. Now this Rafale is an example of canard delta wing. Canard delta wing means there is one fixed delta wing, and then again there we have a moving delta wing. What does this particular thing do? This moving delta canard makes the maneuverability and stealth of the fighter jet much more enhanced. Then there we have the example of tailed delta wing. Here this is just the opposite of this particular canard delta. Here the delta is placed over here at the tail. What can be the example of this tailed delta wing? So if you are an military enthusiast, you must be remembering that MiG-29, sorry, not MiG-29, MiG-21 is an example of tailed delta aircraft. So if you see over here that there is, I have a photograph of MiG-21 that is being operated by Indian Air Force, right? So here the delta wing is placed over there at the back behind the fixed delta. Okay, moving on. It is a multi-role aircraft. That is, what is the meaning of again these key terms like multi-role? So obviously the basic is that it can perform multiple roles. Traditionally, the aircraft used to perform one single role, right? For example, if an aircraft is made specifically for reconnaissance, right, it is going to perform only one function. If a aircraft is made for transportation, it will perform only one function, that is of transportation. But multi-role fighter aircraft means it is able to perform multiple functions like air-to-air combats, support operations, bombing, reconnaissance, electronic warfare, and so on. These are the kind of operations it can perform. So now what are the key differences with respect to naval variant and air variant? Obviously, we are not going to purchase the air variant for our navy. This is specifically modified for the naval version, right? So what are the key differences when it comes to the naval variant and air variant is launch and recovery. So they have a smaller launch and recovery time period because obviously they are going to land on an aircraft carrier. Then again, another feature that is provided is with respect to foldability of wings. For example, this can be folded over here, this can be folded over here, right? Size and range, smaller size and smaller range. Obviously, avionics is further improved and enhanced, right? And corrosion resistance is one of the features because they are going to operate at seas, so we need a kind of corrosive resistant material and paint over there so that they can perform the functions for a long and enduring time period. Based on our understanding, in the past there have been direct questions on defense related technologies. There has been question on Agni 4. In the past there were also questions on hard air defense systems, right? So you need to keep a tab on the various key terms that are coming with respect to the defense technologies, right? Consider the following statements regarding Dassault Rafale fighter jet. It is a result of joint development of India and French Aeronautics Department. No, it is not an effort of joint development. It is, we are going to directly purchase it from the Dassault Aviation of France. First. Second is, it is being designed specifically to play a role in air-to-air fights and dogfights. No, again, it is a multi-role, medium multi-role combat aircraft, the very infamous deal, right? So it is going to be a medium multi-role combat aircraft. So that means it is going to perform multiple roles. Both the statements are incorrect. What is the correct answer? Neither one nor two. With this, we conclude the session for today. If you liked the video, please hit a like button. Also share this video with your friends who have just started the preparation for the civil services examination. With this, I take your leave. Have a good night. Enjoy the day.